Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the Freedom Exchange Project. Do we say that?
Yeah,
now?
we said project just because that was the only URL available.
That's why we're there.
Yes. Unless we wanted to pay $10,000 and we didn't want to do that.
Well, I am Allison and this is Christy, and we have not seen each other this week very much, like not our normal.
Right.
I've thought about you a lot. Hey, thanks.
You have? Why? Have you thought about me?
Because we haven't done our huge, and I've missed you, but I know we've been busy, so it's good. Do you have anything fun coming up this week?
Have a visitor coming into town, even though it's going to be snowing every single day.
We're calling it Snowmageddon.
It says 100% snow for 5 days. So,
you think we're going to get snow?
You know what? I put all my winter stuff away, too. I only have on my flip-flops. Yeah, I had to pull this sweater out.
Because 2 days ago it was 85 degrees, so now we have a week of snow.
Yeah.
Welcome to Oregon.
Yes, so
but
that's all right.
We're good. So we have a cool guest today that I'm excited about. And you know why I'm kind of excited?
Why? She's special.
She is special. It gets me emotional a little bit because when you and I first started sharing our story, it's hard. It's hard to share your story in the beginning, and then it gets easier the more you do it. Yes. And she hasn't done it a ton, even though I thought she had.
Right.
So it's hard.
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking and wrecking.
Nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to have her on and love her through that.
Yes, and we're the perfect people for that.
Yeah. No judgment.
Yeah.
I see her. She's just a girl that found herself somewhere that she won't go back to.
Right.
Who hasn't been there?
Yes.
Have you been there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, do you have a couple things you wanted to share?
Yes, I do. So today we are highlighting an organization called the Justice Impact Alliance, and it's a national nonprofit. I can't wait till you meet these guys. It's an organization founded in 2021 by justice impacted people, which we love that. The founders have dedicated their lives to dismantling the broken system that does nothing but hurt people and contributes to generational cycles of incarceration and poverty, and rebuilding a new one that promotes all generational well-being. You can visit them at justiceimpactalliance.org. So what they're doing, I always want to say we, because I like to be involved in that too, is creating a national kind of coalition of people doing the same thing instead of lots of little pockets of nonprofits all around the country doing great stuff. So I'm really excited for them. So
it's that term, stronger together.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff, but it's fragmented. So to bring it together. I love Justice Impact Alliance. Yes. Can you share with our audience what does Justice Impacted mean? It entails a lot, so.
Yeah, anybody that has had been flung into either incarceration, family members that have someone that has either been arrested or someone on probation or parole, children, family members, loved ones. I heard there's 1 in 3 people have been impacted by I don't want to say justice system. We like to call it punishment system.
Or the unjust system.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So justice impacted is, when you hear that, that's a lot of us.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot. That's us. That's our families.
Yeah.
That's a lot of us. It's even, it's a lot.
So
Thank you for highlighting that. And we are the Freedom Exchange Project. What does that mean?
The Freedom Exchange Project. We have evolved over the last year since we've been doing this show. It's been a little over a year. And so we did this because we wanted to bridge communities. We wanted people who've never been involved with incarceration to understand what really goes on, like the gal we have on today who got a 35-year sentence. So we want to just let people know what goes on, all the atrocities, and also, more importantly, to have a platform for people that have been in prison or fighting for those in prison so they can have a voice and share. So it's not just a horrible headline and everyone judges them and goes on their way. So we want to give them space for that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks for doing it with me. Thanks for
including me. Who knew? I didn't know I had a voice.
I didn't even know you were justice impacted for a couple years.
I know. I did not know I had a voice in this arena.
Yeah.
I did not even think of what happened as a kid with my dad would lead to this passion and frustration and connection I have to this world.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Thanks
So,
for using your voice.
thank you for encouraging me to
Boy,
use my
we're
voice.
really loving
We're having
each
a
other
love fest. We
today.
haven't
We
seen each
never
other
see
this
each
week
other.
very much, and we
Yeah.
usually walk it out for
Yes,
hours.
maybe tonight.
Well, you just did an 11-mile trail run.
In the sun. So it was
In the
sunny,
sun.
yes.
It's not sunny
No, I
now.
won't be running for this whole week.
Well, we have left Judith in our waiting room where we have lots of wonderful snacks and
M&Ms.
M&Ms, good things in
No
there.
honey buns. We don't do that in the
No
free
prison
world.
food.
No.
So we're going to let her in, right?
Okay.
Okay, but I never really know how to do this.
Yes, so you can hit
Okay.
admin. Oh, yeah.
Did I do it
admin.
right?
I think so.
Well, there she is. I did it
Yes.
right. Hi, Judith.
Hi, Judith.
Welcome to the Freedom Exchange.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Good. Well, we're happy to have you. And we kind of said in our intro how we love this platform to share the stories. And no matter if you've shared your story a lot or not a lot, it's a great place to kind of keep owning your story and finding your power in it, your superpower in it, a comfort in it. And also it's an act of service to
help
other
others.
people. So we thank you for sharing your story. What's the term I always ask you to share about exploitation? About
Passion exploitation. That's a new word that
do you want to share what that means?
that means that people that want the expertise of someone incarcerated will ask us, and they will keep asking, and we do it because we want to get the message out, but we've been doing it for years and not getting paid for that. So you have, a lawyer or somebody else that you want their expertise, and they always get paid, but we don't. So we're kind of, I know I'm trying to change that a little bit, at least ask.
Which is why we're just really grateful when someone's willing to come on and share the most intimate, hard parts of their story. That's a privilege. It's an honor to have you with us. So we'll just thank you for that.
Well, truly, thank you for having me. I feel privileged. You did a wonderful job bringing, awareness to society as to what we go through and how we need to overcome certain situations to be able to succeed after incarceration.
Yeah. So I thought just for fun, we could just jump into the sensational part of your story just because it's
kind of cool.
Go ahead. It's the thing that if you aren't familiar with incarceration, but you turn on the news, it's the thing you hear. So there's only a few stories out there. There's not a ton of them that get this kind of national attention. So when I Google your name, Judith, up pops a picture of you, President Trump, Alice Johnson, who Kim Kardashian helped get out, and Kim Kardashian is in the photo. And are you in the Oval Office?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So for our audience, this is what we see when we Google Judith. And it seems pretty cool, but I thought we could start. Could you explain what a presidential clemency situation is?
Yes. It's still surreal for me. I mean, I wake up every morning just like, am I still here? Am I still here? What's happening? And, just the fact that I see my house and I'm still in here gives me that sense of reality. Otherwise, I'd be burned. But it was unexpected for me. I had no clue that individuals in, the background were working on my behalf, and they were doing so to get me home. So it came as a surprise. Expected. I always hoped for it, but I didn't expect it. So it came as a surprise for me. And the fact that somebody that I had met inside was the one advocating for me was so personal and so, I felt so honored to have been so memorable to her that she considered me to advocate on my behalf to get me that clemency. And what a clemency is, or at least what it did for me, is that it wiped out the remainder of my sentence. So that was... that was surreal to me.
That's hard to accept for a minute, right? That's a huge, like, I can't imagine that. That would be amazing.
So do you want to share we could do that part of the story of what your sentence was how long it was and how long you served. So I don't
Yes.
like that word served.
Yeah, I know. Let's think of a new word.
I don't like the word served.
We'll
That's-
come up with a better word next time. Yeah, you're right. I never thought about it. We didn't serve. We were punished.
Yeah. How long were you punished, and how long did they tell you they were going to punish you?
Okay, so let's start. Let's see. So I was sentenced to 35 years for a first-time white-collar, nonviolent, crime. So it was very shocking to me. I mean, I didn't even comprehend those numbers, quite frankly. I thought 5 months.
For sure.
It was 35 years, and I was remanded right immediately after trial, because I did go to trial. I went to trial after, yeah. It's a little bit hard for me to talk about.
And so
through it.
you were incarcerated for 9 years before the clemency came down?
Yes, almost 9, a few months shy of 9 years. And I had already exhausted all my, appeals and everything else that you can go through the system. So all I had left was clemency. So I had been submitting my clemency constantly and submitting a packet to everybody and anybody that would listen or, hopefully would read. And somebody was listening, and that was my great friend, Alice Johnson, that I owe my second chance to. By the way, that second month, which is awesome for individuals like me.
Yeah.
So you were incarcerated with Alice Johnson, and our audience maybe will recognize that name because it's the big name attached to Kim Kardashian's legal work. And you were incarcerated with her, so she was the one advocating for you. And then when you were able to rejoin in person, Alice, and then you met Kim, why did they say that they decided to do this for you and advocate for you? What was their reason that they chose to focus on helping you receive clemency?
Well, the reason she always mentioned is that the time didn't fit the crime. The time didn't. It was a drastic, and many people called it draconian sentence.
For sure.
Even my lawyer at the time was shocked to have seen that kind of sentence. It was the first time that a female had been sentenced to that amount of time for that amount of crime. So it was pretty shocking. And coming with the past that initially had started with a 1 count, ended up with 25 counts after the whole trial incident, it just grew out of proportion. And so they just didn't believe that was a deserving sentence for me. And so, the fact that many individuals supported that and petitioned for me to receive the clemency, I was flabbergasted that, that's doing that. So that was liberating. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, it was.
Just for the sake of our audience that's not super familiar with this world, could you share a little bit just about conspiracy and how charges can get added on just based on somebody saying something with no proof, no evidence that you didn't even do the thing, how that happens? Can you explain that a little bit for our audience?
Yeah. Well, conspiracy law is very tricky because, you get caught in the middle of a conspiracy without even actually being completely involved in the whole process. And, that's what kind of happened to me in the sense that I was an owner of an organization, and the organization was obviously doing certain things incorrectly. And the organization got indicted, and us owners did as well. We all got indicted equally. Now, I felt that it wasn't what I was being charged for wasn't appropriate for me. So I was considering, negotiating and trying to come up with, a way to really it be accurate to my participation, if at that.
Yeah.
And there was no agreement, and so I decided I'm going to go to trial for this because I'm going to fight what I believe is right and what I believe is just. So on that decision, I got an additional 25 counts. And basically, they just incorporated everything that my other partners had in their indictments onto my case. I was the only one that went to trial, and so
wow.
Yeah, it got progressively worse for me. But it's an unfortunate situation because really trials are for individuals to exercise their rights, and it doesn't feel that that's the case a lot of the time.
Well, isn't it called a trial penalty? You get penalized for going to trial.
Yeah, and then it makes me think, I wonder how many thousands of people are in prison for long sentences because they didn't go to trial, because they were too afraid to go to trial. I know even with my attorney, he's like, you're not going to trial. Hell no. And I remember being in the car with him on my way to the Salvation Army, and he was so mad because someone decided to go to trial, and they ended up getting 13 years, and he had a 5-year agreement with them. But the guy said, I'm not, that's not a just sentence. So he took a risk, and now he's in there for all those years.
What a crazy place that our justice system brings us to, where it's like, do you want to compromise your truth and your integrity to serve less time? Yet then you're going against what you know is true. Because of the threat and, it's just wild.
Which creates a whole bunch of anger and frustration and more criminality on the justice end. It just doesn't stop. That's crazy to get it. So you were given a plea deal for 10 years originally?
My initial charge was maximum 10 years.
Maximum
so we
10.
might say something like 5 or whatever the case.
Wow, maximum 10, and you get 35. How much money does that cost taxpayers? I know I'm not supposed to talk about taxes because I'm paying my taxes.
35 times 40,000.
Yeah.
35 years times 40,000 a year ish.
Ish, yeah.
It was going to be crazy. It was going to be over in the millions.
Millions.
So keep
Because
me in
you're
there.
such a bad criminal. I shouldn't say that, but like,
right.
This is my actually really good segue. I want to talk about this because that's what just came to my mind. Is Judith? We talked before about other options. You mentioned the word second chances, and it's not second chances when you re-enter outside of prison. It's the second chance after the crime or after the arrest. Like, what are the other options besides 35 years in prison for white collar, nonviolent, first offense? Like, could you talk about that work and options?
Like, what do you mean options?
Do you know what I mean by options besides going to prison?
Well, there should be options. In reality, we had started with a civil. The civil case would have been penalty, and that was something that we were trying to negotiate. Unfortunately, a lot of the options get transferred over to a criminal state, and that just gives you only option of incarceration. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the case. If something is happening and it's being done incorrectly, then let it get fixed, and let us pay the penalty for those consequences. There's penalties to consequences, to mistakes. I understand that. Give people the opportunity and the chance to be able to correct that. Incarceration does not correct that. Incarceration is not even rehabilitative, in my opinion. It's a debilitating system. And after a certain amount of time, you have to fight every day to survive and to, be, like they say, be better instead of bitter. And that's absolutely true. You need to fight every day to be a better person in a setting like that, as to become a bitter person.
It's hard.
It's set up to becoming bitter.
That's a hard thing to do day after day after day after day after day for
year
9
after
years.
year after year, decades.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, what would it be of me? How would I serve society? How would I pay back? All of these, penalties or debt that I supposedly owe society. How would I do that incarcerated? I would not be making sense to society. I would not be able to be contributing effectively. So all I would be doing is consuming already from society, taking a toll. So it defeats the purpose in some sense.
That is something that gets me, is the fiscal irresponsibility of the injustice system. It doesn't make sense when you have somebody that maybe doesn't have a criminal mindset, that's first time. Can we not give somebody a chance to show us that they learned
We can't.
from the experience, and that and to pay your restitution and to have a consequence? But why is locking you up and then feeding off the system at that point the best course of action, just from a fiscally responsible viewpoint?
Yeah, so
It's ridiculous.
Why isn't anybody asking that question that has
I
any
just
weight at
did.
all? Well, you need to speak a little louder to certain people. With that, and one of the things too, I was thinking is, you got out, and so now what they weren't expecting is for someone like you, someone like me, to be fighting on the other side, because of what you can't unsee, all the things that you've seen. And it's like, so you could just go on your way and go, be involved in another business and your family and quietly have your head down and go. But instead, choosing to hold your head up and say, this is BS. And so we're going to talk about it so people know what really goes on.
Well, to tell you, to be frank, the fact that I received such a blessing, one that came through Alice Johnson and Kim Kardashian initially, but I know that many people that were advocating on my behalf, like Amy and Can Do and a lot of other organizations. So to put it in perspective, the fact that these individuals were advocating for me and paying it to me, I owe a moral debt to pay it forward as well. There's a lot of ladies, a lot of individuals that I met in this journey that I feel do not deserve to be in there, that I feel there should be alternative ways for them to contribute back and pay their mistake or their debt or whatever the case may be to society in some other way and form. And incarceration is not conducive of that.
Right.
And so when you consider that there's 70 million people with a record or some kind of legal background in this country, that's a big number.
That's a big number, yeah.
So there's a lot of people being affected by the system. So there's got to be a change, because obviously there's not going to be that many individuals in such a society that are deserving of incarceration or those penalties. There's got to be a change where they can contribute more to society. And so the fact that you don't hear 70 million people talking about this story,
right,
just made me think, you know what, out there, I have to be a voice, because we are numbers. We are quite large numbers, and there's power in numbers. It's just that there's the fear, the stigma, and the guilt, and the the rejection of going out there and talking and voicing your story. And that needs to happen, because there's too many of us. There's too many of us. Something is wrong. There's just too many of us going through the system, and that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't have the numbers that we have in the world being like the largest amount of incarceration. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not in this day, and that affects society completely. It affects them indirectly, affects us directly. So there's a lot of consequences that go on, collateral consequences, and one of the major collateral consequences is the loved ones, especially the children.
Yeah.
I think I read something like 5 million children have had a parent incarcerated. 5 million children. That's 1 in 14 kids.
Right.
In every classroom, there's a child who's got a parent that has been incarcerated. And that's not to mention loved ones, because that child could have an uncle, an aunt, or some other relative. So those numbers shrink even more drastically. So the effects and the collateral consequences that go on with the incarceration is so massive to society that there's got to be some kind of alternative options or corrections to these issues.
Well, I think what we're doing here too is trying to normalize That's the reality. Those are the statistics. Those numbers are real. But normalize sharing our story, no matter if it led to incarceration or it led to a massive shift in your life or a relationship. Sharing our story to show people like we've all got stuff. If we can share and breed compassion and empathy for each other, maybe we're more likely to come along and cheer each other on in that process of learning and rising out of the thing that took us down.
Instead of just pure judgment. Because really, I'm going to be honest, if I, like years ago, and I was married to a police officer, so I was on the other side of the law for a bit, I would hear about somebody being in prison or a child say, my parents are in prison and the child, but then my first gut reaction would be, well, then don't get in trouble. Don't commit the crimes. But so what we're doing here is saying it's not that simple. So if it was the case, that's a statement and a judgment that I'm mortified that I felt that way, but I had no idea. Women increase going to prison 700% in the last, I think it's 10, 15 years. So women are not 700% more evil now. It's just that they've scooped up, all the girlfriends and making a 10-year sentence maximum go to 35 years. So it's not, so if anyone's listening and goes, well, you shouldn't commit the crime, let's say it's way bigger and broader than that. And that's the main reason why, we're on the show doing that. Cause there's so many women that I was in Carswell with that had 27, 31, 33 years. I'd be like, what? That's insane. Nonviolent drug offense. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And a lot of them were the same
type of a target in some sense, because like you say, it can possibly be that we're 700% more evil than we were before.
Not at all.
Target, and it's become, especially with conspiracy laws, it just grabs everybody. And a lot of the times we are vulnerable in a sense of, nurturing individuals for the most part. We try to help. And so a lot of the times it happens that way. We get caught in that process.
Yeah, I was reading something on the Marshall Project too. They talked about women who've been abused a lot, end up admitting to crimes that they didn't do because, different policemen are interrogating, and there's a whole lot to all of it. So it's not just a basic,
more to the story.
There's always more to the story. Yeah, for sure. Sure.
It's so easy just to look at the title and the headline and not go, what happened to you? Where did you come from? What was the landscape around you? What were the variables happening to you that didn't happen to me? That's something I've learned through doing this show is I could think, wow, I can't believe you did that thing. And then I'm like, but I didn't grow up in your neighborhood with parents like that and neighbors like that and maybe poverty. And I just grew up with a different situation. So who am I to say I can't believe, I would never do that.
And the other big thing is that thing is usually not that thing.
Right. Right.
That thing is like, it's really this tiny,
yes.
Not, it's something else entirely different. So
that's what gets us curious about this. We love meeting our guests because it's really not about the crime. It is not about that headline. It's so fascinating to get to know someone and see where they came from.
Flawed human beings.
Which is a great segue. What? My next question.
I don't.
Oh, yes, you do.
What is it?
We think it's fun to ask who were you, Judith, at 10 years old? What kind of a kid were you in your home or in your class? How would people describe you?
Explain 10-year-old Judith to us.
Yes, 10-year-old Judith. So I'm an immigrant. I came from Cuba, and I was about 8 years old when I got here. So 2 years from that, I was probably already settled in a classroom and able to speak English, which is a good feat.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's resilience. Children are so amazing, and that's one of the things that is so fascinating and important during parents in incarceration, that they're able to cope with it. And so the support of the caregivers is so important for those children to be able to succeed and to overcome the trauma that they're going through, especially when mothers are the ones incarcerated. Mm-hmm. But at 10 years old, 8 years old, right? Mm-hmm. 10 years old, Yeah, I was in a classroom already getting acclimated with this country's lingo and social norms.
So I'm going to jump forward because I imagine you're still a little bit, at 10, you're probably still pretty new to a new culture and a new way and a new language. So I'm going to jump ahead at 15. Who were you and your friend group at 15?
Well, I know at 15 I was having my quinceañera.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Were you,
Always been very studious, very focused and goal oriented. I feel that the fact that my parents brought me to this country, I felt I owed it to them. I still do. To work hard and make them proud of the risk that they took bringing us, my sister and I, to this country. So that's very important for me. So I've always conducted myself that way, no matter my age. So I suspect back at 15 years old, I was setting goals, commitment to work hard, because I've always believed that hard work will allow you to succeed. So working hard to meet my goals and educate.
so what would the correlation be from that girl to the girl that got arrested? How does that girl play into that?
Well, there's a lot of correlation, quite frankly. When you think about it, or when I think about it, it was progressive. The fact that I was so involved in what I felt was a successful business, that I was given the opportunity to have partial ownership of that business. I felt that I had succeeded and that my hard work had paid off. But I also know how trusting I am, how naive I could be. And when it comes to my desire to succeed, the tunnel vision that I can, that I can experience. Whereas when you're an owner, you're responsible for everything. And those are one of the things that I didn't see, or I didn't fully comprehend. And so I was very sure that my partners were doing what they had to do, and I was doing what I had to do. And I was focused on what I needed to do to succeed and to see the company grow. And I failed to see a lot of things, or to acknowledge a lot of things that were going on, that had I been more focused or more in tune, that little voice that you need to listen to, that sometimes you stop to listen. I should have, could have, would have. Those are all questions that I always ask myself, and hindsight's 2020. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, ignorance doesn't pay. And so the things that were done wrong and the consequences brought me to incarceration. And I'm just blessed that individuals believed in me and allowed me to be home today.
And so many people can relate to that.
That's what I was just thinking. It doesn't even have to take you to be incarcerated, to be living in a situation, a job, a relationship, a town, I don't know, anything that something doesn't feel right, something doesn't feel like it's your best self, or you're safe to show up as your best self, or you're safe to leave the situation. So we might have that little voice, that red flag, but we don't change it on our own. It sometimes can take something catastrophic to get us to decide to shift. And sometimes catastrophic things happen and people still don't shift. But hopefully that's what it takes you to. I just wish we didn't always have to go through the hard thing to get the lesson.
I always ask that. I say, is there any way we cannot go through the hard thing? But no one's been able to tell me that answer yet.
That's what I was going to, like, could the Judith of today go back and say anything to the Judith of then while you were in that situation, and say something that would have made you change what you were doing? Maybe just awareness would have helped you.
So from a practical point, yes, I could have stopped and looked around and not wanting to be so focused on what I needed to do, but instead, like, take care of my house. Look at everything. Look at what's going on. You have to be more aware of your surroundings. You have to be more aware of the red flags. You have to act upon them and not hope that they're going to go away, or that it was a mistake, or that you didn't actually see what you can infer that you saw, that kind of a thing. But spiritually, I have a different story to that, because spiritually, I truly believe that you're always where you need to be. At the time you're there. And so for some reason, I had to be where I was, and I had to go through what I've gone through, because not always about me, but about the people that I've met, the people that have impacted my life, that people that I hope I've impacted their lives, and the lessons that need to be learned with those experiences.
That's a big statement.
It's a good perspective. Sorry.
My family lessons and the people that I've met along the ways. So I think God doesn't make mistakes. And so it happened the way that it needed to happen.
You know what? And here's a woman who got a 35-year sentence is saying there's no mistakes. And I can't help but think about all the thousands of women in the world that have not been incarcerated and can't come up with that statement and feel comfortable with that. Like, this is where I am. God doesn't make mistakes. Here's where I need to be. So many people are not in acceptance and not even going through as catastrophic as a long prison sentence and a trial. And I mean, yeah, so if anyone's listening and has not been in prison, we can be in acceptance. And that's where all the joy comes from, to say, okay, here I am. What do I need to learn? What do I need to do? Who am I next to? Who's my person here? And then go in that direction. And then a lot of times you find yourself in a direction that's like, well, whoa, I'm over here. I wasn't planning to be over here, but that's where all the joy and the love is. And so it was really well said, Judith.
Yeah. And it's a choice, right? The perspective we choose is a choice. And we don't ever need, I don't know how to say that. I don't know. There were times where I felt like a victim to certain things in my story. And obviously not always.
I think we all have.
Sometimes I'm the perpetrator. Sometimes I'm the victim. And I think I focus on what was the lesson. I don't want to have to come back and learn this again. I want to learn it today. I've said that a lot through my story, is I'm never going back there.
Yeah.
I'm never going to go back to that place. So what is it I need to learn today?
And that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it all. It's like, okay, now here we are together, all three of us going to kick some ass out there in the world.
Amen.
Are you?
Amen. Yes.
Are you?
I am.
All
we
right.
already are.
Okay. I'm trying to think of the next fun, deep thoughts by Christy. Well, I just love the idea of the bridge. I love the idea of the show and how you don't have to be incarcerated to sit here and listen to you, Judith, and what you've been through. The part about you being in your job and just keeping your head down, doing the thing you're supposed to be doing. How many women out there, people out there are doing that and don't want to do the hard thing of like, maybe I'm comfortable, maybe I'm feeling safe here, maybe I want these people to be my people for whatever reason. So if I listen to that red flag, it's going to rock my world and turn everything upside down. And sometimes we don't want to turn our worlds upside down.
The red flag is scary as hell most of the time. We know it, but it's like, oh, hell no, I'm not jumping off that. There's no way that I can do that.
And
it's
I was
too scary.
A work environment for a couple decades, and there were things that were not in alignment with who I was, what I wanted to do, just how I wanted to be. But yet there were other parts of my life that it was conducive to. It was working. I was able to have a life that I wanted also. So it's like, how do you give up?
Well, it wasn't horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good for me.
Right.
So we sometimes stick in the thing, the relationship, the job, the whatever, because it's not horrible. But we deserve so much more than not horrible.
Well, I think that's another reason why we're doing this show, is we want women, because I don't know why I didn't know, but I didn't realize the magnitude of joy and abundance that I deserve, in my life. So because I learned that lesson the super hard way, I want to pour that into many women as possible when they're shaky or not sure about their story or don't know if they deserve it. Like I said, I have a group of women, young girls that I work with, and I asked them, I said, do you believe you deserve a big, beautiful life? And their response is no. Anywhere from 20 years old to 62. And I think, damn, how do I get them to understand that they deserve a big, beautiful life? There's lots of layers and layers with that. So I think we just keep sharing and preaching and talking about that.
That made me think of something, Judith, you had said earlier to us, in an email, I think, that when you were doing the discovery process with your attorney, that there were some moments of clarity and some tough emotional things of just coming to terms with your situation. And I was curious if anything you wanted to share with because you had said in your discovery process it made you just feel terrible.
It grossed me out. Just to be
the reality
blunt.
of putting it all out there, the reality of what you were involved with. So I was just curious for Judith's story, like what did you discover about yourself in that process?
Really, my lack of involvement and what that led to, the consequences that had.
Yeah.
Because had it been more involved, had it been more onto what was going on, I think to that proportion and to that degree, I think I would have acted, I would have done something. So having seen in black and white everything that was going on and put in front of me and the whole picture that I had not been privy to because of my tunnel vision, having seen that whole picture there just made me sick. It really made me sick because they're indirect, but they're consequences, even to that lack of action. And so that was really hard for me to come to terms with. Everything that I was, witnessing and everything that I was discovering in my discovery, I was discovering.
Yeah. Yes, I remember that moment.
Really?
It was bad. Yeah, you're in a room by yourself with on a computer. I was on a computer. There was no attorneys, and you're just reading and listening, and just it was gross.
Like, is this my life?
It's sad.
Is this my story?
It was hard. But it's hard. I challenge most people to look at themselves in a full reality, and digest it. It was difficult.
So Judith,
Realize how your actions have a ripple effect, and it affects everything much further than you think. And so that has been my motto, to now conduct myself in a way where I try the best I can for my action or interaction with people to have a positive ripple effect.
Yes,
because you never touch people in their lives. And so I want to be able to do so in the most positive way possible.
And she's doing that with all the things that you're involved with.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. Could you share with us all that you're involved with, the work you're doing, all the things?
I am so excited to pay it forward. I feel so blessed to be able to do that. So yeah, I've been involved with the Ladies of Hope Ministries, Topeka K-Sam, been doing some advocacy for them, and also in a program called Pathways for Equity, which is a program for equitable employment for individuals. So they have immense amount of programs. You guys need to, or anybody that's listening needs to check them out. They're awesome when it comes to that. All the services and all the network and support that they provide to individuals like us, especially women that have been systems impacted. I also been working with From Prison to Professionals, which is a program focused on education during incarceration and post-incarceration, and they're doing wonderful things and getting education out there. I mean, to me, it's so important. It gives you such a better position to be in when you have some type of education, even while incarcerated. It's not all, but it does help because you get the better jobs. You get a lot of better communication so that your needs can be met while incarcerated. And so it also helps, obviously, after incarceration. So the fact that they're able to do so from the get-go, it just puts people at a better position for success, because reentry, it's not easy. I mean, we're talking about, I think, 44,000 barriers to reentry to success. We have
goodness.
Yeah. Horrible.
So yes, those are my main goals. I've also been involved with Evolution Reentry, which is a support group for women who are going through the legal process. So,
I love that.
yes, and they come in, whether they're pre-trial or during the incarceration process, the support of the family, and then
That's
post.
amazing.
So there's a lot of things that are going on out there, and I'm just so blessed to be part of it. And I'm also excited to see how responsive the community has been. I mean, I don't think that this was happening 10 years ago when I left. So the fact that society has been becoming aware and been supportive to the need of changes that need to happen, and I hope that I see them.
Awesome. Yeah,
But
awesome.
the fact that society has been so supportive, it's a breath, of fresh air to see that, happening. But it also brings to point that we're 70 million of us. So, it's a big chunk of population that are being affected by this. So change happen. And, and again, and Amy and Can Do as well. They, I've gone to them all the way to to Capitol Hill to advocate for the CARES Act. So that was quite a relief to see that they were able to stay home, because it would have been detrimental mentally, physically, and economically to society if they have gone back. And then, of course, Alice Johnson and TAG and her organization. I mean, there's just so many individuals out there that are doing such wonderful work. And so I'm just, blessed to be part of that,
There
I just
are
had
so
this
many organizations.
thought that for people that are watching that aren't system impacted or don't know they're system impacted, and just to hear the list that you just gave and other guests we have are involved in other organizations, that just is enlightening to me. Just that's why there's such a problem. There wouldn't be this many people doing this much work in this many organizations if there wasn't a giant problem that needed to be addressed. And so for only that reason, if we only took that from this, is to start changing our conversation, changing our judgments, changing how we look at the system that we don't know a lot about. Maybe I don't know a lot about it because maybe if I'm a viewer, I'm not super interested in that world. But just to understand, there's big problems going on. And there's a lot of stuff that until it hits your front doorstep, you can ignore. But like the statistics you said, it could hit your doorstep.
Right.
And then you're going to care. So
yeah. And then your kids are involved and all that.
The way that the system is, or the laws, for the most part, the way that the laws are written are so conducive to interpretation that a lot of the time to do with who's reading it and how they're interpreting and how it's being applied. I remember reading a book that was still, to me, was one of the most memorable books that I read while incarcerated, which was called 3 Felonies a Day.
Oh, yeah.
I think Harvey Silverglate or something to that effect. But the book just wrote about the amount of laws that, are conducive to felonies that are written out there that are so drastic and so numerous that nobody can really comprehend them all or understand them or know them all. As a matter of fact, one of the things that they mention is that the average American leaves their house in the morning and go about their day, and by the time that they come back home, they've committed at least 3 felonies.
That's insane. Wow.
You've probably done like 10.
Is driving fast a felony?
You're walking around not knowing that you've done these things. And so it's shocking to me that we're exposed to such level of high risk of legal action
with no idea.
Yeah, and
that's shocking.
And that goes to say, once you're in the system, then it's like it's easy to pull you back in. So yeah, with all that.
So this my role here is to keep us on time. I want to move into our fun speed round. Just before we, I know you've seen our show, so you know we do a fun speed round at the end and just laugh a little bit. But I wanted to know, since we've got this you're on this platform, you have this moment. If you could share anything to our audience where this is a lot of education, a lot of learning when people watch our show, what would you like to wrap up your part on this platform that you want people to know?
Yeah, that you just want to reiterate something. This is your chance to make sure someone knows something.
Well, for people who have not been impacted by this, please don't judge.
Yeah.
Listen to the story. You have not walked in their shoes. You don't understand or know the details. Don't believe everything you read.
Right.
And give people an opportunity and a chance to really voice and tell their side of it. Because at the end of the day, there's more than one side to the story.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen, sister.
Amen, sister.
That was well said.
Exactly right. Okay. What's that?
Impacted. For the people who have been impacted, because that's a whole different world out there. For those people who have been impacted, never forget where you come from. There was a purpose. There was a reason. You may not understand it now. You may not understand it in this lifetime, but there was a purpose and a reason for what you had to go through.
Yeah.
Cope with it, learn, help others. Don't ever forget that today is better than yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. That was a perfect
segue.
last couple sentences.
Yes.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
Well, it's time for some fun.
Okay, so we're going to do a little speed round. So this is just going to be quick questions and like 1 or 2 word answers, okay? All right. So, are you a morning or night person?
Morning person.
I won't say that I am this time because you'll get at me. What makes you smile?
Oh, being home with my children, my family. So freedom glow.
Freedom glow. Yeah.
Oh, Freedom Glow. Have you heard that?
No, I love
Oh,
that.
Freedom Glow. Really quick, how long have you been home?
2 years
Okay.
and 2 years and a couple of months.
Okay.
Never that freedom glow.
Love it.
Freedom glow. There's a freedom glow.
And you know what? Can we all have a freedom glow if we've come from something
Yes.
hard and we've like let go of the
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Because
I think you have a freedom glow too.
it's probably this pretty light right here, but
Extra glow. Okay, so are you someone that prefers a phone call or a text?
I would normally say phone call, but lately it's been a lot of texting.
Yeah, text. Okay. Let's see. What emotion gets you in the most trouble?
You know what? My passion.
Ooh.
I was going to say that for me
Yeah.
or intensity.
Yes, for sure.
What about you?
I'm not sure. We don't have time for me
She's
to
kind of
figure that
a free spirit.
out. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you?
Well, it depends who you ask. If
You're
We're
ask
asking
me,
you.
you're asking me. I think I'm a 10. My
All
children
right.
Okay.
Yes.
but
Well, kids don't count.
Yeah, and we love our guests that say a 10 for sure. If someone offered you free time, what would you have them do if they said, we're giving you a week of time?
Of like their effort.
Of their effort, say.
their work?
Well, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's hard.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a new one. You guys have never asked that one before.
I have
you're-
a whole list.
I think you're right. I'm like, Christy, I haven't thought through that one before.
I have a whole list.
Oh my gosh, you do?
Of stuff. Well, of stuff that I could ask somebody to do. Maybe that's
like
just
what
my
you, when
own.
you have me get things out of your cupboard.
What do you... They're not there anymore, so we're good there.
They.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. What's the first thing you think of in the morning?
That I'm home with my family and how grateful and blessed I am. So I thank the Lord for that.
It's true that feeling lasts a long time, right? Because I still feel like that a lot. What's a product that you can't live without?
I like that one.
Coffee.
Oh, okay, nice. And what do you like in your coffee? This is for the Moxie.
Yeah, what's your drink when you
What's
go to
your
a coffee
drink?
shop? What's your drink?
Milk, sugar, and chocolate, and anything sweet. I love it.
You started on my track, you ended on her track.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I love it. All sweet for sure. Okay, and then the last one is what compliment do you get the most?
My smile.
Yeah, you have a beautiful
But I never
smile.
want to lose it.
You won't.
You're not.
Definitely.
You're not.
But you know what?
That's it.
Time I think about the positive and the blessings that I have in my life, I can't help but smile.
It's true. It's true.
And I'll just say from getting to see you around more on social media, you are positive and encouraging and cheering people on. And you're the same way on social media. I'm not on social media as much, but I love your name comes up all the time because you're always cheering people on, and so are you. So I love that you're finding other ways just besides your immediate circle to reach out further and just champion people that are doing good stuff.
Well, it's so important, I think, isn't it? It's so important to say, because it's hard to do life. Life sometimes is really hard. And so that we can say, hey, I see you, you're doing a great job, keep going, whatever that is. And I always said, we don't even need to know exactly what you're doing. I don't even need to know all the details. I don't need to agree with it, but I see you moving forward, so I'm on your side. Let's go,
Yeah.
Listen, I've just been so blessed that many people have done that for me.
Yeah, me too.
Cheered me on. They propelled me to elevate me and to do, what I think my purpose is in this life. And so I can't help but to do that for other people. I know how meaningful that has been to me and how it helped. So if I can do that for people, it doesn't cost anything.
It
So,
does.
yeah.
That's why you're our people.
Yeah, you are our people. It's awesome.
Yeah,
This is
because
great.
that's how we... Yes, girl. Well, we did it. How do you feel?
Oh, relieved. At the end of the day, I just want to make sure that the point comes across that, it's a month of second chances, but there's chances that need to be implemented for so many different issues and so many different things for women as a whole in so many different areas. So I just hope that people are more understanding and more accepting and
Yes.
each other out. We women need to help each other out.
Yeah, we do for
Keep
sure.
everybody else out, but we need that.
Yes.
We agree. Thank
and I
you.
also wanted to give one last shout out to Amy. It's her birthday coming up.
Is it? Oh.
Yes. And so she's a great gal and she does so much for so many people.
gosh.
I mean,
She's
it's
been doing
really
it for so long.
for
That
so long.
dedication, her perseverance, just it's so admirable. I mean, she's
Yes.
such a great job.
We need to get that girl a trip to Hawaii.
I know. Why don't we all go to Hawaii? Why don't all the girls go to Hawaii?
Okay, Amy,
Let's
are you
all-
watching?
Go along.
Yes. Well, yeah, we'll do that for Amy. We'll all go.
I know. Amy, we have something for
We
you.
have
and
something
we're
for you,
coming.
but we're coming with you, all of us.
Okay, we're going to have to talk about that on our next long walk.
Yes, for sure, we will.
Judith, thank
Judith.
you. Thank you for being brave and showing up and just sharing your heart and the good that's coming from it.
Yeah.
All I can do is pay it forward, and that's what I hope I can do in this lifetime. So
You're doing it beautifully.
Yeah.
immensely, and so I have a duty to do so.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will talk to you soon.
Bye, Judith.
Bye.